One landlord says that we need more protections for good landlords from bad tenants. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's an opinion piece about how bad tenants, we need more protections from them. Okay, landlords, we need the law to be on our side to make sure that we don't get taken advantage of by tenants who just have malicious intent. Now, I'm not saying that all tenants have malicious intent. What I am saying is that the small percentage who do, it can be absolutely devastating, especially for the small mom and pop landlords who don't have large emergency reserves or lots of other units that can cover the losses while they wade through eviction processes that in some states can take months or years, okay? So it would be nice if there were more laws that allowed us to go after these bad guys, okay? They're bad guys. And in my opinion, a lot of the times that some of the property damage, some of the things that tenants do to you, it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal, yet they want you to go through the civil courts and then sue these people for those damages. Give me a break. That's ridiculous, and it's way, just too much for a small landlord to have to deal with. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. Do you believe that small mom and pop landlords in particular, but all landlords overall, need more protections from bad tenants? And this could be for anywhere, okay? I've heard about just things happening in every single state in this country, and you wouldn't believe, like places that are traditionally landlord friendly, where landlords are still getting screwed over. So yeah, I do believe that landlords need more protection from bad tenants. So also I wanted to add that, a couple of people had commented how, the video looked a little bit different. Well, I'm out of town right now, so I'm recording this on a green screen, and, the basement, it looks like I'm just sitting in my normal basement. It's actually just a digital image that I'm putting up over the green screen. So if it looks a little bit off or a little bit wonky, just keep that in mind, okay? I'm doing the best I can while I'm sitting in a hotel room. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from timescolonist.com, and it says, comment, landlords need protection from bad renters. We need to tighten up protections for landlords. Most, as I was, are just trying to pay the bills. And that's what most of us are trying to do. But not just pay the bills, but also make a little bit of extra money. Okay, so let's get into the article. I rented out my suite for about 18 years to long-term tenants. I gave very reduced rents to a few tenants and made arrangements with some that they would help with some light yard work, watering, mowing the small lawn area. The yard work never happened. I was a single working mother and was hoping to get a little help in exchange for a couple $100 a month off the rent. Meanwhile, I was working weekends and overtime to pay the bills. So obviously, from the first couple of paragraphs in this lady's letter, you can see that she's a small mom and pop landlord, okay? And she was trying to help the tenant out. And this is a problem that a lot of small mom and pops have, where they try to help the tenant out by giving them a reduced rental rate and allowing them to, maybe do a little bit of extra housework, mow the grass, take care of the property, do some of their own maintenance work, right? But the tenants instead don't do that, and now they have a super low rent. So when I talk a lot of the times about how landlords need to treat it like a business, this is what I mean. Okay, you're not treating this as a business, and you're getting taken advantage of, and that's what I don't like seeing. After I retired, I could no longer afford to rent my suite for so little. The cost of insurance, taxes, maintenance, utilities have skyrocketed over the years, and after retirement, I ended up working 6 or 7 days a week, so my tenant could pay $780 monthly for a large, beautiful, bright suite looking out onto a lovely yard. So basically, she was subsidizing the super low rent of this tenant and working her butt off to do it. It says that after retirement, After retirement, she could no longer do this. So she went through her working years, working her butt off to keep this tenant living for cheap. This is why you have to raise the rents. You have to keep the rents at market rate. If that tenant doesn't have somewhere cheap to live, too bad. That's not your problem, okay? You're not this tenant's mom or dad, okay? You subsidizing the rent. You working tons of extra hours. You working multiple jobs to cover for some person who has no concern about you. None. They have no concern about the financial hardships you're facing, about how much you're working, how tired you are. See, that's just it, right? Treat it like a business. If you can't, here's my other suggestion to you, right? Pass it on to a property manager. Pass it on to a property manager, and they will forcibly raise rents and then find other tenants if those people aren't willing to pay. So when I talk about rent control laws, right, there's a lot of landlords out there who operate their rental properties in this manner. So imagine here you are, you've bought a rental property, or you own a rental property, you've been renting it out, and you've kept your rents below market rates for years, and then now you're like, hey, I'm drowning. I am literally drowning because their rent doesn't cover, the maintenance, the utilities, the mortgage. It doesn't cover anything. And I might need to double my rents, increase the rent by 100%. And they're like, no, you cannot do that. You're in a rent control land. You cannot raise your rents more than 10%. If the rent is $780 a month, you can only raise your rent by $78. What are you supposed to do? Okay? What are you supposed to do? You just got to keep working that second job? No. What a lot of these owners do is they get out of the business, okay? Because they can't win. They end up selling the property. The person loses their home anyway. So whether they sold the property or whether they kept it and then rose the rents, guess what? That person doesn't get to stay there. So why not allow the property owner to keep the property but raise the rent up to the level that would allow them to pay their bills? But cities don't see it that way. They like these politicians, they just, it irks me that they don't look at the past and the way things work. It worked in places like New York and see, oh, well, this is a losing formula. But anyway, let me continue. I'm off on a tangent. Laundry, hydro, and everything was included. Wow. So she paid for laundry and water and everything. Crazy. Meanwhile, I was coming home in tears because I was doing private care and frequently not getting sleep for days in a row. I had to get the tenant out as I just could not afford to have her here anymore. I told her over the years that after I retired, I would have to do something different with the suite. She was not a bad tenant, but when I rented to her originally, I thought it would be for a year or two, and I gave her very low rent as I knew she was not making much at her job. She stayed for 8.5 years. I figured that over the last 5 years, I lost about $30,000 on rent from what I could have been charging. So you're working extra so that your tenant could stay for super cheap. Why would they leave after 2 years? They got a heck of a deal, like somebody else working, 2 jobs in order to pay to keep you there for cheap. I hate to make fun of you. You're a small landlord. You are screwing yourself though, okay? Absolutely screwing yourself by doing this. So, yeah, it was bad all the way around, bad. I've been doing short-term rentals for the past 5 years, and I would never go back to long-term rentals. I have only one terrible experience with guests because they are reviewed. I was able to get them out quickly and cringe when I think what would have happened if they had been long-term tenants. They smoked inside my house, cranked up the heat full blast, left the fireplace on 24/7, and left garbage around my property, but I was able to get them out within days. We need to tighten up protections for landlords. Most, as I was, are just trying to pay the bills. Just because people pay rent, it does not give them the right to disrespect and damage your property or ruin the peace in your own home. So I agree, okay? And in her case, she didn't get out of the rental business. She went over to just doing short-term rentals because the rules for long-term rentals they suck. They suck in a lot of places, okay? Now, I'm not saying that all landlords are going to go through bad experience such as this, right? But it's a warning. It's a warning, especially for the people who are thinking, oh, I'm going to turn the house that we're going to buy a new house for my family to live in and then turn our former home into a rental property. That might not be the best way to go about doing this. What you should do is research the landlord-tenant laws, and wherever you're at, figure out if this is a good place to invest or not. Figure out if the rent that you can charge will actually cover the expenses, okay? Be it the mortgage note, the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, etc., okay? And if you do buy a rental property, buy it with purpose and intent. Say, okay, I'm going to buy a property, but I'm going to buy it as a rental from the get-go. Maybe turning the property that you used to live in into a rental isn't the best way to go about doing this. Whatever you do choose, though, think about it a lot. Talk to people who've already done it and see what they think, okay? If they think that what you're doing is the right way to go about. Because you know what? 99% of the real estate investors I know, 99% of the landlords, they will analyze your deal. They will talk your ear off about everything when it comes to buying a rental property, running a rental business. So anyway, let me know what you think of this whole thing down in the comment section below.